Let me be honest with you. After 60, you've earned your peace. You've raised families, built careers, perhaps weathered loss. You deserve relationships that honor your journey, not exploit it. But here's what nobody wants to say out loud. There are men who see a woman over 60 and calculate. They see your home equity, your retirement savings, your loneliness after a spouse passes or a long marriage ends. They see vulnerability they can use. I know this feels uncomfortable. You might be thinking, I'm too smart for that, and you are smart. But intelligence doesn't protect you from manipulation designed specifically to bypass your defenses. These men are skilled. They've done this before. They know exactly which emotional buttons to push. The statistics are sobering. Financial exploitation of older women has tripled in the past decade. We're not talking about obvious scams here. We're talking about men who enter your life through dating sites, church groups, community centers, even through mutual friends. Men who seem genuine at first. You are not alone in facing this. Thousands of accomplished, intelligent women have found themselves entangled with the wrong person, wondering how it happened. There's no shame in being targeted. The shame belongs entirely to the predators. That's why we're having this conversation today. I'm going to walk you through the specific types of men you need to recognize and avoid, not vague warnings, but concrete patterns of behavior that signal danger. The first type is perhaps the most seductive because he doesn't seem dangerous at all. In fact, he seems absolutely wonderful. He arrives like a whirlwind of attention and affection. Some call it love bombing, and it's far more calculated than you might imagine. Love bombing. It sounds almost romantic, doesn't it? But let me tell you exactly what it is. A deliberate psychological strategy designed to overwhelm your judgment and create an artificial bond before you have time to think clearly. Here's how it unfolds. You meet him, maybe online, maybe at a social event. Within days, he's texting you good morning and good night. Every day, multiple times throughout the day, just thinking about you. You're always on my mind. It feels wonderful at first. After years of feeling invisible, someone finally sees you. But watch what happens next. After your first date, flowers arrive at your door, expensive ones, then maybe a piece of jewelry that reminded him of you. He talks about introducing you to his family by the second week. He says he's never felt this way before, that you're his soulmate, that he's been waiting his whole life for someone like you. This is where your wisdom needs to override your heart. Genuine affection builds gradually. It has space to breathe. Love bombing is suffocating by design. The psychology is calculated. By flooding you with attention and grand gestures, he creates an intense emotional dependency very quickly. You start to feel special in a way you haven't felt in years. And here's the dangerous part. When someone invests that much attention in you that fast, you feel obligated to reciprocate. You start to overlook things that would normally concern you. He'll want to spend every moment together. He'll suggest you don't need those weekly lunches with your friends anymore because you have him now. He might express concern that your daughter doesn't appreciate you enough, subtly driving a wedge between you and the people who would recognize the red flags. A woman I know, Janet, 67, told me her love bomber proposed marriage after 3 weeks. 3 weeks. She felt swept away, chosen, rescued from loneliness. Looking back, she realized she never had a moment to question anything because he never gave her space to think. Real love respects your boundaries and your pace. Real love encourages your other relationships. Real love doesn't require you to prove anything. And once that dependency is established, once you're isolated and emotionally invested, that's when his true agenda often reveals itself. Suddenly, the conversation shifts from romance to something else entirely: money. And just like that, the romantic messages start including casual mentions of money. Not directly at first. Never directly at first. It begins with what sounds like vulnerability. I'm so embarrassed to even mention this, but my business is going through a rough patch. Nothing serious, just cash flow issues. I'll have it sorted out next month. He's not asking for anything. Not yet. He's just sharing, being open, creating the impression of honesty. Then comes the second mention. My lawyer needs a retainer for this property dispute. It's ridiculous, really. I have assets tied up everywhere, but nothing liquid right now. Again, no direct request, just planting seeds. Here's what you need to understand. Financial predators are conducting reconnaissance. They're listening carefully when you mention your home is paid off, when you talk about your late husband's pension, when you casually reference your retirement accounts. They're taking inventory. A woman named Patricia, 63, told me her boyfriend of 2 months seemed fascinated by her financial independence. He called it sexy. He asked thoughtful questions about her investment strategy, praised her for being so savvy. She felt seen, appreciated for her intelligence. What she didn't realize was that he was calculating. By month 3, he needed $5,000 for legal fees. Just a loan, sweetheart, 2 weeks tops. I'm expecting a big payment from a client. Patricia lent it. The 2 weeks became 2 months. Then he needed more, an investment opportunity that would triple their money. Our money, he said. We're partners now. Watch for these patterns. Does he steer conversations toward your finances? Does he compliment your home while asking what it's worth? Does he suggest you deserve better returns on your investments and just happens to know someone? Some will pressure you to add their name to accounts for convenience or suggest joint investments to build your future together. One woman was asked to co-sign a business loan after dating for 6 weeks. Your assets represent decades of work, sacrifice, and planning. Protect them fiercely. Never make financial decisions quickly, regardless of how much pressure he applies. Consult your financial advisor, your attorney, your adult children. Real partners respect due diligence. And here's something crucial to recognize. These financial players don't just target your money. They target your emotions first, and they're remarkably skilled at faking the empathy that makes you want to help them. These men are artists of emotional manipulation. They've studied empathy the way an actor studies a role. They know exactly when to soften their eyes, when to reach across the table and touch your hand, when to say, "That must have been so hard for you." Watch how they operate. You mention that your daughter is going through a divorce, and suddenly his face transforms. "Oh, I know exactly what that's like. My sister went through the same thing. It destroyed her." He leans in. "How are you holding up? You must be worried sick." The concern seems genuine. You feel understood, but here's the test. Watch what happens next. Does he remember your daughter's name the following week? Does he ask how she's doing without prompting? Or did that conversation simply serve his purpose in the moment, making you feel connected, making you trust him? A genuine empath remembers. His concern continues beyond the immediate conversation. He follows up. He shows consistency. The empathy imposter, however, performs empathy only when he needs something. His emotional availability has a transactional quality. He's deeply sympathetic when he wants you to open up, but curiously unavailable when you actually need support. Martha, 67, described how her partner seemed wonderfully understanding about her grief over losing her husband. He listened for hours. He validated her feelings beautifully. But when she needed practical help, someone to accompany her to her husband's memorial service at the Veterans Hall, he was suddenly unavailable. "I'm not good with those situations," he said. The empathy vanished when it required actual effort. Trust your instincts. Does his empathy feel rehearsed? Does his body language match his words, or does something feel slightly off? Real empathy is effortless and consistent. Fake empathy requires maintenance, and the cracks eventually show. And speaking of things that eventually show, let's talk about another type you need to recognize. The man who never quite grew up. The Peter Pan. You'll recognize him immediately once you know what to look for. He's 65, but he talks about finding himself. He's charming, spontaneous, always up for an adventure. He makes you feel young again. There's something refreshing about his carefree attitude after years of being the responsible one. Finally, someone who knows how to have fun. But watch what happens when real life intrudes. He's had 7 jobs in the past 5 years, not because of bad luck or a difficult economy, because he gets bored or doesn't like being told what to do. He's currently between opportunities, which means you're picking up the dinner check. Again, you mention planning a trip 6 months from now, and he gets vague. "Let's just see what happens. I like to be spontaneous." Sounds romantic until you realize he's actually saying he can't commit to anything, even a weekend away. His apartment looks like a college dorm. He has no retirement savings. When you gently bring up the future, he changes the subject or accuses you of being too serious. Why can't we just enjoy the moment? Linda, 62, dated a Peter Pan for 2 years. He was fun at first, but I realized I was mothering him, reminding him about appointments, lending him money he never repaid. When my furnace broke in January, he couldn't help. No tools, no money, no practical skills. Just, that's rough, babe. Here's what women over 60 need to understand. You've already raised your children. You don't need another dependent. You need a partner. Someone who can handle adult responsibilities, contribute equally, and face life's challenges beside you, not hide behind you. Emotional maturity isn't boring. It's essential. A real man at this age has built something: stability, character, the ability to show up when things get difficult. Because speaking of showing up, there's another type who's masterful at making promises, but somehow never quite delivers. The promise breaker. He'll look you straight in the eye and tell you exactly what you want to hear. The follow-through, that's another story. I'll call you tomorrow. 3 days pass. When you mention it, he acts surprised. Did I say tomorrow? I meant when things settled down. He promises to meet your daughter for lunch, cancels an hour before, promises to help you move furniture on Saturday. Friday night he texts, something came up. Promises to go to your grandson's graduation. The morning of, he's not feeling well. Each broken promise chips away at something precious, your ability to count on him. Margaret, 67, experienced this for a year. He'd make beautiful plans, weekend getaways, meeting my friends, fixing my gate. None of it happened. I started making backup plans automatically. Then I realized, if I can't rely on him for small things, how can I trust him with anything important? The promise breaker often makes grand declarations to compensate. I'm gonna take you to Italy. We'll spend next winter somewhere warm. I'll be there for you, no matter what. Beautiful words, zero action. Watch what happens when you actually need him. Your car breaks down, he's in the middle of something. You're sick, he doesn't do well around illness. You need emotional support after bad news, he'll call you later. Here's the truth. At our age, we don't have time to waste on empty words. You need someone whose promises mean something. Someone who shows up. Someone whose actions consistently match their words. Because if he can't keep his word on the small things, returning a call, being on time, following through on plans, he certainly won't be there when life gets genuinely difficult. A man of character understands that his word is his bond. He doesn't make promises lightly, but when he does, he keeps them. And that brings us to another type who has a particular way of making you feel small. He doesn't break promises, he breaks something far more fundamental. He dismantles your confidence, one comment at a time. The disrespectful demeanor. He's subtle about it, so subtle in fact that you might question whether you're being too sensitive. That's exactly what he's counting on. He interrupts you mid-sentence. Not occasionally, consistently. You're telling a story at dinner with friends and he cuts in to correct a detail or finish your thought. You're explaining something you know well and he talks over you as if you hadn't spoken at all. When you mention it later, he acts baffled. I was just adding to the conversation. Why are you making such a big deal? Linda, 63, recognized this pattern too late. We'd be with other people, and he'd make little jokes at my expense, about my memory, about how long it took me to get ready, about my cooking. Everyone would laugh, including me at first, but I'd go home feeling diminished. When I told him it hurt, he said I couldn't take a joke. The disrespectful demeanor dismisses your opinions, especially in front of others. You suggest a restaurant, he overrides you without discussion. You share an idea, he explains why it won't work before you finish speaking. You express a concern, he pats your hand and tells you not to worry about things you don't understand. He uses condescending language. Sweetheart, let me explain how this actually works. You're confused about this. That's not quite right, dear. The tone is patient, as if he's talking to a child. Patricia, 71, finally walked away after this moment. I was talking about an article I'd read on economics. I taught business courses for 30 years. He literally said, "That's cute that you're interested in this stuff." Cute. That's when I knew. This type controls through subtle put-downs. He comments on what you're wearing, not compliments, but suggestions that something else might be more appropriate. He questions your decisions. Are you sure you want to order that? Don't you think you've had enough wine? Maybe you should let me handle this. Here's what makes this particularly insidious. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. No single comment seems worth confronting, but collectively, they erode your confidence and sense of self. You start second-guessing yourself, questioning your judgment, staying quiet to avoid his corrections. And that's exactly where he wants you. Small, uncertain, grateful for his guidance. Listen carefully. Respect isn't negotiable. A good man doesn't need to diminish you to feel bigger. He doesn't interrupt, belittle, or dismiss you. He listens. He values your opinions. He treats you as an equal, because that's what you are. If someone makes you feel small, believe that feeling. Set a boundary. If he can't honor it, walk away. You've earned respect through decades of living, learning, and surviving. Don't spend your precious years with someone who can't see your worth. Now, we've covered several warning signs. Men who move too fast, who need rescuing, who break promises, who tear you down. Let's bring this all together, because recognizing these patterns is only the first step. The real question is, what do you do with this knowledge? First and most importantly, trust your intuition. You know that feeling in your stomach when something's off? That quiet voice that whispers, "This isn't right." Listen to it. After 60+ years on this planet, your instincts are finely tuned. We've been conditioned to be polite, to give people chances, to not make waves, but your gut feeling has kept you safe more times than you can count. Honor it. Here are concrete steps you can take right now. Slow everything down. If someone's rushing you toward commitment, toward financial entanglement, toward intimacy, pump the brakes. A genuine man will respect your pace. Tell him directly, "I need to take this slowly." If he pushes back, that's your answer. Talk to people who love you. Not just anyone, your trusted friends, your adult children, your sister who tells you the truth even when it's uncomfortable. Describe the relationship honestly. If you find yourself defending him constantly or hiding certain behaviors, that's significant. Fresh eyes see what we're too close to notice. Set clear boundaries and watch what happens. "I'm not comfortable loaning money. Don't speak to me that way. I need 3 days' notice for plans." A healthy man respects boundaries. A toxic one will test them, push them, make you feel unreasonable for having them. And here's the hardest part. Be willing to walk away. I know loneliness feels heavy. I know companionship is precious. But I promise you, being alone is better than being with someone who drains your bank account, your energy, or your self-worth. You are not too old to start over. You are not too old to be treated well. You are not too old to expect honesty, respect, and genuine partnership. Your worth isn't determined by whether someone chooses you. Your worth is inherent, built through every challenge you've overcome, every person you've loved, every lesson you've learned. So as we close today, I want you to remember something.